Part 303. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 3028. The day laborers who worked for Mr. Fang's house were also quietly discussing the matter, especially those who had their property stolen. Even some maids who were released heard about it. Last year, many people were confiscated and lost their property, and there were also many good servants. However, when the county magistrate divided the land, only the male servants were allocated the fields, and there were no maids. They can only go home. But going home. Some people have been sold as maids since childhood, not to mention their feelings for the family, even the family doesn't have much feelings for them. When they were released back home, they were either married off in a hurry, or they were left at home and worked tirelessly to do farm work. Seriously speaking, it's not as good as when I was a girl. Others, after taking back their daughter, turned around and found someone else to sell it. But they are old, and many big families don't like to use them, so they can only be assigned to small families. They are both maids and passers-by, and they live very badly. They may be sold to bad families' dirty place to go. Therefore, I heard that Bihai County has both men and women. In the past, they also farmed chickens, but they were paid for food, accommodation, and wages. They quietly inquired about it, and it turned out that it was better than staying at home. A few older girls took advantage of the fact that they went to Mr. Fang's house to help workers gather rice and whispered together. I have inquired with Erju, who is a long-term worker at Mr. Fang's house, and said that because there is a medical department in Bihai County, the department's order is a female official. So there are girls working there. Are you going? I don't know the way. I know. Our young master took me to Bihai County when he went on a study tour. I know how to get there. Bihai County is not far from the state city. As long as we get to the state city, we will go to Bihai County in a day's walk. Very. Just us. There won't be any danger on the road, right? No matter how dangerous it is, there is nowhere to go. A 16 or 17-year-old woman gritted her teeth. The old lady came to my house every now and then, and I eavesdropped. When the autumn harvest is over, I will be sold. If I sell it to that kind of place, I might as well just kill it. You are too angry. But, what kind of arrogance is this? They gave birth to me once. I paid them back 10 years ago. Now this life is my own. Why would they still sell me? Stop arguing, just go together when you want to go, call a few more people. I called the sisters I knew before, who are still unmarried at home, except for those who really love their daughters, who do not want to keep selling for a good price in winter. Let's just hit the road together, and we're not afraid of the crowd. I know the way to the state city. Erju is a good guy. He often sends things to the county town for Mr. Fang. He knows a lot of people from car dealerships. When we arrive at the county town, we can ask him to help hire a car to go to the state city. We can't miss the wind in this matter. We will contact the good people and leave. What about the household registration? What kind of household registration do we need? We are all women, and we have no land, so we went directly as refugees. Yes, be a refugee. At this time, Kui Yun was in a county not very far from them. He grabbed 2 strings of money to give to a few helpers, and said to them, "Don't worry, it's not a bad thing. I just thought that your county doesn't have so many people to support people, and there is a lot of land in our county. Let them stay in the county either as beggars, or as part-time workers everywhere, and when they do something wrong, they run around and end up taking the blame, aren't you?" The helpers have limited knowledge and feel that what Kui Yun said makes sense. And it's just some news, and it's true. Whether people go or not is entirely voluntary, so there's nothing that can't be said. So the helpers took the money, patted their chests and said it was no problem. Kui Yun invited them to drink, and after they left, he exhaled. The book boy who followed him couldn't help but said, Master, aren't we going to run? Kui Yun, what are you running for? If the county magistrate here knows that you are digging people, they can't arrest you. Kui Yun waved his hand indifferently and said, don't worry, the county magistrate won't know our plan. Where is this going? I plan to set up a platform to recruit workers. Book boy. Kui Yun said that a platform was set up to recruit workers, and sure enough, the next day, a platform was set up to recruit workers, right at the gate of the city, in front of the city guard. The city guard and the yaman asked curiously, there are so many coolies in West Street, why don't you recruit them, but come here to recruit them? Kui Yun said confidently, there are all part-time workers there. It's okay to work for a day or two. I'm going to recruit long-term workers. Starting now, it may not be completed until the spring of next year. The yaman looked at him and asked with a smile, you don't look like the manager of a business, why do you want to form a caravan to go business? That's not the case, Kui Yun said with a smile. The head of the family is the magistrate of Bihai County. He has to build roads and bridges, and cultivate the manor, so he needs a lot of manpower. There are few people in Bihai County, so he has to recruit some part-time workers. He sighed and said, the yaman are not enough. Bihai County recruited people here, and the yaman immediately reported it to the county magistrate. Hearing the words, the county magistrate didn't think much, waved his hand and said, don't worry, Bihai County is now rich and powerful. The county government and the county town are in tatters and must be repaired. They don't have enough people, so it's normal to recruit from outside. The county magistrate thought very much, it's just that they went to make money, and they have to spend it on our county and their families when they come back, and they also enriched us. The yaman felt that the county magistrate was right, so he did not restrict Kui Yun anymore. Every day he passed by and looked at the people he recruited. It's a pity that most people are not happy when they hear that they are going to Bihai County. He went, and after 2 or 3 days, he only recruited 3 or 4 people. Kui Yun never thought that the first batch of long-term workers he recruited was actually a group of little ladies. From the age of 12 to 18, there were 18 in total. As soon as he entered the city gate, he found him and asked him if he was recruiting from Bihai County. A young lady in the lead asked, is there anything we can do? Kui Yun stared at them blankly. In fact, he didn't understand what they could do when they went there, whether they could open up wasteland or build a wharf. But the county magistrate before coming here repeatedly warned that women should also, regardless of gender. So he still nodded at them affirmatively, yes, you are all going to Bihai County, are you sure you can stay for a long time? The girls nodded fiercely, yes. Kui Yun studied the ink and picked up the pen, come on, report your name. An older lady grabbed the burden in her arms and asked, can we leave today? Kui Yun raised his eyebrows slightly and said with a smile, of course you can. It just so happened that I also recruited a group of people in the past 2 days. I will send someone to send you over together. As for him, he was going to the next county with the rest of the money, and in the past 2 days, he finally found a reliable person to help him continue to recruit workers here. The father of the yaman, who always came to join in the fun, knew a few words, and Kui Yun agreed with him, if you recruit one person, as long as the person arrives in Bihai County, if you can recruit 100 people, that is 1,000 pennies. See you at 10 p.m. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 3029. When Shutong and Kui Yun left, they couldn't help but look at those yaman and city gate officials with sympathy. When they found out that their young master had taken money in private, please help Xian advocate the recruitment and settlement of land. I wonder if they will regret what happened today. Kui Yun closed his fan and patted him on the head, drive your car carefully and close your eyes. He said calmly, Master Bai came up with this idea. He also said that he was holding it when the sky fell. What does it have to do with me? Don't talk about me in your heart. Shutong covered his head and said, I didn't say, young master. Kui Yuan planned to visit each county and stay for a few days, and when he went to the next county, someone had already arrived in Bihai County. They stood at the gate of the city and looked up at the gate of Bihai County. They always felt that it looked more shabby than the counties they had visited before. But already here, they couldn't leave, so they entered the city in groups. Their clothes were ragged, and many of them had short straw sandals, and some went barefoot. These people were skinny, and some of them were carrying their children. They stood on the street in a daze for a while, but they didn't know where they were going. But they looked left and right, and found that the streets of Bihai County were quite clean, and at first glance, there was not a single beggar. Everyone was overjoyed and couldn't help but look at the young man headed. The young man was also very thin and his clothes were tattered, but his face and neck looked cleaner than others. After thinking about it, he said, since it is said that Bihai County is recruiting people, it should be going to the county office. Go to the county government office. Many people hesitated and refused to leave. What if they do not divide the land and arrest us as tenants? They have been refugees for some years, and some counties will recruit them for their political achievements, but they will not assign land to them, but will directly record their household registration, and then take them to find some landlords. If they can be seen, they will be recruited as tenants. But they had to pay a lot of rent, and they still couldn't get enough to eat, not to mention that they didn't even have a house, so they would be better off living as refugees. And some people are so skinny that they don't even look down on the landlords, and in the end they have to go to the streets to beg for food, but they are already on the household registration, and they are taxed every year, so they often have to run away and become refugees. So they were very bachelors, so they said, let's run away if it's a big deal. It's not always so lucky. Didn't the few from Ahashi village run away last time? They were dragged directly to serve, and now I don't know if they are still alive. The young man gritted his teeth and said, the youngest and I will go first. You guys are waiting on the street. If you lie, you can run away. We have strength and fast feet, so it's easier to run away. Everyone should get down. So the young man took 2 people to the county office while inquiring. The others sat on the floor at random places on the street corner. There were 3 people with children. The dinner for the evening hasn't arrived yet. When the 3 of them arrived at the county office, they stood at the announcement wall to probe their brains and did not dare to go forward. The 3 of them didn't dare to go forward, so they could only hide behind the announcement wall, looking up and seeing the densely packed words posted on it. The 3 of them didn't know a word. The young man sighed, if only I could read, maybe I don't even need to go up. The 2 yamen standing guard in front of the county yamen had already seen the 3 of them, and when they saw them poking their heads and looking at the rotten cloth on their bodies that could barely cover their bodies, they stepped forward with their big swords and shouted, what are you 3 doing? The 3 were startled and wanted to turn around and run away. The yamen had already asked, is it a beggar from our county or from another county? The young man stopped his back foot, swallowed and asked, can't there be beggars in the county? What kind of beggars are those with hands and feet? Magistrate Bai is in urgent need of manpower. Where did you beg before? The young man immediately said, we are from other counties. We heard that Bihai County is recruiting workers and giving land to refugees, so we came here. Dividing land? It's not easy for you to divide land, but it's not difficult to recruit workers. Come in with me. The 3 looked at each other, raised their feet and followed the yamen in. They carefully looked left and right, and asked, then, does it matter? Our county magistrate said that even if we settle down, we must choose excellent people. The land in Bihai County is reserved for diligent and capable people, so it is not so easy to divide the land, but it is not difficult to work. Now our county missing people. I don't know what work it is. What kind of work can you do? The yaman looked at them with disgust and said, "You can also farm the land, let's go." After entering the county office and walking to the left, I happened to meet Master Song. "Master Song, are you going out?" Master Song stopped and saw the three youths. His eyes narrowed slightly. "Is this here for work?" "Ah, the little one will take him to Zhao Li." The corner of Song's mouth pressed down slightly, and Bai Shan handed over the statistics and recruitment to Zhao Ming. Because he was reused, the county government respected him as a Zhao official, but the yamen and police officers in the county government were not little. Master Song felt that in the long run, he would have to give up this master to Zhao Ming. Seeing that Song master clerk didn't speak, the yamen hurriedly waved to the three young people, "Hurry up, it's getting late, and if you don't count the evening, you won't be able to catch up with dinner." When the three young people heard it, they immediately followed. Zhao Ming was in a small room with only a table and a chair, and behind him was a hanging curtain, but this was useless for the time being. Seeing the three, Zhao Ming opened the booklet and asked them, "What's your name, what year were you born, and where are you from?" After knowing that they were refugees, he asked, "When and why did you become refugees, where did you wander before coming to our county, and what did you do for a living?" Then he asked, "What can you do?" The previous question was okay, the last one, the three young people were all stunned. What is talent? Will it be possible for carpentry, building houses, repairing bridges, or breaking bricks? Zhao Ming said, "If you can't do any of these, then what kind of rice, planting wheat, growing vegetables, raising pigs, ducks, chickens, cattle, and sheep?" The three nodded again and again. "We can farm, and we can also raise chickens and sheep." Zhao Ming nodded, "Also, no one will order something special? Even if it's bamboo weaving?" The three shook their heads. Zhao Ming wrote them truthfully, but the young man at the head hesitated for a while and asked, "Sir, is there any difference between a carpenter and a farmer?" "The wages are different," Zhao Ming said. "For those with special talents, the county government will pay higher wages." "How much is the wage in that land?" Zhao Ming said, 20 words. The young man's eyes lit up and asked, "I make my own food, or is it the county yabao?" See you tomorrow. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 3030. The county government has paid for it. Zhao Ming handed them the three signs written, "See, this is your identity sign, knowing that you are just here to find work, our county magistrate will not give it to you for the time being entering the household. This is also because the autumn harvest is about to end, and the next step is to pay taxes, so as to avoid confusion in the roster." When the three heard the words, they breathed a sigh of relief. This sign is equivalent to your household registration and road guide. It has your name, age, and appearance on it. It is only used in Bihai County. You can take it, Zhao Ming said. "Okay, take the sign and go to the next room to wait. Come on, someone will lead you down to resettlement later." The three of them exited the room with the sign, and only waited next door before a sergeant came to lead them down, but they walked around in the alley and came to a place full of medicinal fragrance. The door is very wide, and there are high thresholds. As soon as you step in, the people who are queuing inside just turn their heads and look at them before withdrawing their eyes. When Tiandong, who had already read the patient in his hand, saw it and waved to the three of them, "Come forward." The officer urged them, "Hurry up." The three of them didn't know what they were doing, but they went forward obediently. When Tiandong felt their pulse, checked their bodies, and said, "I've been hungry for too long, so I don't need to take medicine. It's just food to support them. You can eat more porridge and noodles." This said, it seems that eating is an easy task. They have been begging all the way, and they can ensure that every meal is very good. The officer took his diagnosis and shoved it into his arms, and then smiled at Wen Tiandong. Master Wen, you see that they are dirty, do you want to give them a piece of medicinal soap? He said, I just looked carefully, and there are a lot of lice on my hair. Wen Tiandong, didn't your county government just take a batch away not long ago? Speaking of which, Zhou Manrang made the medicated soap in May. At first, because many of the people who came to seek medical treatment had lice and rashes on their bodies, she asked them to make medicated soap. Later, the county government registered all the beggars and refugees within the county seat. Those who could work were directly hired to work, and those who could not work were sent to the Yishan Hall. There is also a Yishan Hall in Bihai County, but the county government is poor, and even when the county magistrate Lu is there, he can only guarantee that he will not owe money and food, and it is impossible to expand. But after Bai Shan's inspection, he directly asked people to sort out the open space on the left and right sides of Yishan Hall, build a house, and then repair the previous house. Children begging in the county, both men and women, were sent to Yishan Hall. Zhou Man, give them health, and he asks someone to teach them something. Some of those children haven't had a bath or hair for 2 or 3 years. After Zhou Man went to see them, they had their hair shaved, changed into new clothes and shoes, and washed with medicated soap for a while. So recently, the medical office has received a lot of orders from the county government. For this reason, Zhou Man also recruited many women in the county to work in the medical office. The rich family was also among them. She carried a bag of saponins and went to the backyard. Wen Tiandong frowned when he saw that, and hurriedly stepped forward to take the saponins. Because it was unexpectedly heavy, he went down the whole body. Pressing the pressure, I almost flashed my waist. Ma, don't do this kind of heavy work alone. As for Hu Dalan, let him and Aunt Sun help. Hu Dalan is the young man who pushed his paralyzed mother to seek medical treatment, while Aunt Sun is the young girl who stayed here to take care of the tuberculosis father. Both of them are now helping in the medical department, and they are paid every day. Ma Dawa smiled and said, this is not important, I can do it myself, and the two of them also have their own work to do. Wen Tiandong, don't listen to my persuasion. Now you feel that you have endless strength when you are young, but when you are older and your back has problems, you will know how wrong you are now. Ma Dawa responded, but not necessarily how much he heard. When the young man who was waiting on the side heard it, he immediately stepped forward to carry the bag of saponins, lifted his feet, and sent it to the backyard. Ma Dawa saw it and hurriedly followed, this way, this way, this way, oh, why did you carry it all by yourself? The young man put the saponins in the backyard, and then quickly ran to the front to find Wen Tiandong, and said to him, Lord, look, although I am thin, I am very strong. He looked at Wen Tiandong eagerly, I don't eat much, so I can pay less. So will you accept me? When the other two young people heard this, they also looked at Wen Tiandong eagerly. Wen Tiandong. Ma Dawa, who was going to go out and carry things, heard that, and immediately looked at him angrily, and said to Wen Tiandong, Master Wen, I can do whatever he can, and I'm not weak. Speaking of this, she was still a little resentful, I could have carried it directly to the backyard, but you stopped me from putting the saponins down. Wen Tiandong. Seeing this, the officer on the side quickly stopped the three of them and said, what nonsense, the place where you work is not in the medical office. He didn't wait to get the medicine soap, and urged them, hurry up, we're going out of the city. Wen Tiandong stopped them, went to get 3 pieces of medicated soap first, recorded it on the record, you have to wash your hair, don't use the changed clothes, if you are sick in the future, you can take a sign to the doctor's office for treatment, and you can see a doctor. You don't need money to get medicine. Since it is a long-term worker recruited by the county government, it is counted in the county government's account. The officer took the 3 of them away and went directly outside the city. On the way, he reprimanded, thinking that anyone can enter the hospital, but those of us with local household registration are still difficult to enter. The young man was stunned and asked, "Is that place just now the medical office that can see a doctor for free?" "Yeah, but you are not registered in this county, otherwise you can see a doctor here if you have a household registration in Qingzhou. If you don't, you can only use your own brand for medical treatment. In the end, the cost of medicine will be paid by the county government." The officers dragged them out of the city. It was a very wide place, many houses were built on the field, and many people were walking around. The officer led them directly to the first wooden house, and said to the clerk sitting inside, "The new arrivals are refugees and have no household registration. Give them clothes, shoes, and socks, you can see the arrangement." The clerk took over their ID cards and saw that they had no specialties, so he waved his pen and said, "Then let's go farming." The clerk gave each of them a set of clothes, shoes, and socks, and then called a human, "These 3 people are under your control, take them down to freshen up, and start going to the ground tomorrow." The man led the 3 down. "What's your name?" The leader of the youth said, "I have no name, my surname is Zhu, and I am the 3rd oldest in the family." Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Zhu. Chapter 3031. The man was also used to it, and then said, "Zhu Saburo, you know the rules, right? The wages are paid every 3 days. We farm the land for 20 cents a day, and the county government provides us with food and drinks." He said, "Don't be lazy thinking that this job is easy, look over there." The 3 of them turned their heads together and looked in the direction he pointed. It was a group of people who were digging a ditch with hoes. He said, "Those with slow hands and feet were pulled there to dig a ditch, and their wages were 15 cents. One day, I will tell you the rules first, which is also set by the county government. Although the county government lacks people, it is not necessary for everyone. Those who have talent count as literacy, arithmetic, and woodworking. They do other jobs, and their wages are not the same as ours. Reading literacy and being talented are what they envy and cannot envy. We people, most of them are 20 cents a day, and they are fast, and if they get the attention of nobles, they can be transferred to other jobs, and the wages are different. Let's not talk about diligent people now, just say that those people who are procrastinating, lazy people with a lot of shit and urine, first reduce their wages to dig ditches, and if they still can't do it well, then change them. 10 when a day. If you don't want to do it, then you have to pay back all the clothes and the money for the medicine and soap." He stretched out 3 fingers and shook it in front of the 3, and said loudly, "A total of 30 when." The young man's eyes widened. So expensive? The people who led them also thought it was expensive, but he copied Fang Xianquan's words, "If you think about it carefully, it was only 1.5 days' wages. In the past, who could buy a set of clothes, shoes, and socks with 1.5 days' wages and still get a piece of money? Medicated soap towel." Zhu Saburo thought it was true, so he suppressed the reluctance in his heart, and he was more concerned about, is it really paid? The person leading them was not surprised by this question. He was so skeptical when he first came, but he has been here for 10 days, and he does get paid every 3 days, so he nodded. "You guys, lucky for you, I just paid it out yesterday, and in 2 days it will be time to pay again, and you will be able to receive it by then." Zhu Saburo's eyes flashed slightly. "Can you get it in less than 3 days? These 3 days started from the day when the establishment here, not the day you came in, otherwise people would come in every day, wouldn't they have to pay wages every day? It's too chaotic." "No, here we are, this is the bathhouse. We built it ourselves, everyone will use it. Go there to get a wooden bucket and a cloth towel, there is a place where hot water is boiled, go and fetch water to take a bath, no one is allowed to throw off the clothes there. Take it to the house, and if you find it, you will be fined." Master Joe said that there are many bugs on the clothes. Since there are new clothes, they will be burned. Zhu Saburo, it's just one set. So after the wages, you can buy another set from the county government. It's not expensive. 20 cents is just one day's wages. Zhu Saburo. So why did Bai Shan and the others recruit so many women? In addition to farming and growing vegetables, of course, weaving cloth to make clothes? Some people didn't know how to do it, so Bai Shan even sent people to Qingzhou City to invite a few weavers and embroiderers to teach them how to make clothes. For this reason, he signed a contract with people, and he was going to give them old age in the future. Otherwise, how could they possibly teach others how to eat? There are still so many people. That's just a job grab. Bai Shan is not short of money now, so he began to ask people to buy linen and other items from other counties. Even Yin Or, who was in the mountains to escape the summer, was called down by him 3 times and 4 times, and began to help him collect things everywhere. Bai Erlang had just returned from Qingzhou, and as soon as he entered the city, he first saw a group of ragged people sitting under the wall, looking like beggars, but by looking at their age, he knew they were refugees. He couldn't help but glanced at it a few times, then turned his head and said to Yin He, "It's strange, there are still refugees in the county town, and I thought they were all called Bai Shan to clean up." Yin He leaned slightly and glanced out the window, then withdrew his gaze and said, "You just arrived, right?" Bai Erlang sighed, "It's so pitiful, they disappeared in 2 days." Yin Yu, if you were told this by someone who didn't know it, they would have thought that he was a vicious official, so what would he do if he kidnapped people? They may not have been taken captive, but the 2 of us were taken captive. I'm here for summer vacation. Why do I have to run back and forth like this? In contrast, Bai Shan can still be fixed in Bihai County, which looks much more comfortable than him. The Bihai County office where the 2 of them went directly, this time they brought back several carts of fabrics for Bai Shan from outside, and also negotiated a few business deals for him. We have negotiated with the shop over there in Qingzhou City, a total of 500 a wooden barrel, ready to be delivered by them. Yin Yu said, a batch of farm implements have also been ordered in 3 counties of Qingzhou City, Linzi, and Qiancheng, all of which are used in the way you gave them. I have seen them all. They can make them because of the large quantities. Willing to deliver. Bai Erlang scratched his head and said, "We didn't buy much grain. We went to various grain stores to check it out. Although the autumn harvest has come and the price of grain has dropped slightly, it is still very expensive. It's better to go directly to the countryside to buy it." After all, he made a fortune by making food. He first went to the fields to ask about the price, and then went to the shop to ask, and found that the price was a bit different. Bai Shan asked, "How is King's Hu's harvest this year?" Bai Erlang said, "The weather is good and the rain is good. Except for some places in Qiancheng County, there was a slight drought during grouting. Others said that this year's harvest is better than last year. Then wait a few more days, we will go directly to the field to collect." Bai Erlang asked, "How much do you want to buy?" "Let's get 5,000 stones first." Bai Erlang's eyes widened, "Why are you buying so much grain?" Bai Shandao said, "Be prepared for any trouble. Now I have more than 700 soldiers under my command, not counting the county yaman's clerks and the outside helpers, there are 1,000 small people. Now there are so many long-term workers, in the next year. Before the summer harvest, they have to buy all their food from outside. 5,000 stone looks like a lot, but it's not too much." It's strange that Bai Erlang believes him. It's not that he doesn't know how much food a person eats every day, and he still comes first, indicating that he has to buy it later. Before his thoughts had begun, Yin Wei had already asked, "Are you afraid that the incident in the salt field will make a big difference and someone will stop the grain from entering Bihai County?" Bai Shan smiled slightly, "Be prepared, although I am also forming an alliance now, but the interests are moving. Who knows if the ally he has negotiated now will turn around and throw himself into the arms of others. The gentleman said that one must be honest, but one must also know that the word treachery is indispensable in the way of being an official. To prevent others from cheating. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Zhu. Chapter 3032. The county magistrate Lu, who had already vaguely realized that the situation was not right, secretly scolded Bai Shan as treacherous after knowing that someone had even left the rice in the autumn harvest and went to work in Bihai County, but it was difficult to stop him. After thinking about it, I still open one eye and close the other and let it go. But in order not to let Bai Shan take too many people from him, he also asked the Yamen to check more refugees passing by, guide them to Bihai County. He currently doesn't have the ability to accommodate these refugees, so it's better to give them to Bai Shan. He has enough people, so he shouldn't grab ready-made people from him, right? The county magistrate did not expect that a small Bihai county would absorb these foreign populations just like Jingtun. They will be the first to settle in the official field outside the city, which is the official field of the county magistrates in the past dynasties, and it is also the current field of Bai Shan. Perhaps it was to reduce disputes or to give preferential treatment to a county's parents and officials. In addition to the county magistrate's work field, there was a large area of wasteland and open land. The former magistrate Lu couldn't bear the waste of these lands, so people planted some wasteland. Even if he later left Gaosheng, this piece of official land was still cultivated. After Bai Shan came, it was cheaper for him. It's a pity that the tenants don't seem to be very attentive, and the output is not very high. Bai Shan can also understand that it is not a happy thing to be a tenant for the government, so after he collected the wheat from the summer harvest and the rice from the autumn harvest, he left enough food for the three of them, and turned around and sold the rest to the county government. The price is fair, neither taking advantage of the county government, nor allowing the county government to take advantage of itself. Just want to take the opportunity to bribe Bai Shan's song master. You don't need any money delivered to your door. Now there are people everywhere around the land. Bai Shan asked them to build a lot of thatched cottages on the open land for people to live in, and then asked them to reclaim the wasteland near his work field to make official land. As for his working fields, they are now divided into pieces, or to plant winter wheat, or to dig ponds to raise fish, or to grow mulberries and hemp, and some better fields have been opened and sprinkled with variety of vegetables. There is no objection in the county government for the time being. However, after a period of time, the recruited long-term workers will be screened out and assigned to work on the official fields of each village. Zhu Saburo and the others received their wages on the evening of the third day, a full 40 pennies. The three of them are still very thin, but their spirits are very different from before. Because they were refugees before they came in, and they have a note from the medical department, so although they were divided into the ranks of farming, they were assigned relatively light work. In the words of the person who brought them, first take care of your body, and then you can use it later, or you will damage your body as soon as you get up, who will work for the county government in the future. He said, I didn't say this either, it came from the county government office, saying that it was said by the county magistrate. Because Bai Shan came to check and inquire from time to time, the workers did not dare to argue with each other, and even the Yamen did not dare to be too cruel to them, for fear of leaving a bad impression on Bai county magistrate. Although this magistrate Bai's methods are also powerful, judging from the things he has done, everyone knows that he loves the people, especially the people under his own control, so he is hostile. The Yamen did not dare to do anything. Not to mention the repeated orders of Dong Xianwei, no one dared to disobey. Zhu Saburo received 40 wen of wages, immediately put it in his arms, and ran to the clerk who managed them to ask for leave. Going into the city, the clerk looked up at him, then looked at the two young people behind him, squeezed out a smile and said, Are you going into the city to buy something? What do you want to buy? We have it here, we have everything here, clothes, Shoes and socks, don't dislike it? The stitches are not very fine, but they are cheap. Go to the county town to find out which store sells ready-to-wear clothes for 20 cents. The fabrics are all good fabrics. Already. Zhu Saburo, who buys clothes that can be worn for 3 or 5 years. Who will buy it for the line? He finally knew why the county government's clothes were so cheap. He quickly said, I'm not shopping, I'm going out to see my relatives. They came to Bihai County with me. I don't know what to do now, so I want to go and see. He hesitated for a while and then asked, I want them to go to work in the county government as well, but some of them have children. I don't know if adults want them. The clerk immediately said, the child has no wages. Zhu Saburo, you don't mean that when you're young. Naturally, children don't need wages. The adults are working, can the children follow? Don't worry, they don't eat the county government's food, and we save our own rations for them. Clerk, isn't the food you eat still given by the county government? You are all refugees, right? There are ready-made regulations at the county government. You can just bring people and children. He turned his head to look at the hourglass, and said, it's getting late, the county government office should be starting the office now, but Zhao Li usually leaves the office later than others. If you go early, you might still be able to live in today. As soon as Zhu Saburo heard it, he took 2 friends and flew into the city after receiving the note, and found 2 people in the alley not far from the city gate. Where are the others? Call them back quickly, and let's go to the county office together. Register to go. The 2 of them looked at Zhu Saburo, who had undergone great changes, and were amazed, is this new clothes? And new shoes, Saburo, have you developed? Zhu Saburo patted off their dirty hands, don't touch them, you will have them too. Hurry up and call everyone back. It was only then that the 2 of them reacted, and they quickly asked, is it safe to go to the county office? Reliable, Zhu Saburo took out the copper coins that were not yet warm in his arms and put them away in front of their eyes, and said, the wages are settled once every 3 days. We have all 3 of us to pay wages. The 2 of them listened with envy, and immediately went out to look for people. They didn't look for people one by one. They went straight down the street, running and shouting in their native dialect, come back, Saburo is back, come back soon. When the few people who were squatting in the back alley and pulling the swill of the restaurant heard it, they immediately stuffed the small half of the steamed bun that had just been turned out into their mouths, turned around and ran out. The children on the street who were reaching out and speaking auspicious words to passers-by also heard it, turned their heads to look at their relatives, and they immediately stepped forward, grabbed the children and ran towards the city gate. 2/4 of an hour later, a group of dirty, panting people blocked Zhao Ming at the entrance of the county government office, who was about to go home. Zhao Ming. He looked at the sun that had already set in the sky, and then looked at the group of people who were looking at him eagerly. In the end, he turned around and led them into the county office. Including the children, there are 18 people in total, which is quite a lot. Because there were many people and they were all refugees, Zhao Ming personally took them out after registering them, but instead of going to the medical office, he went to the side door of the backyard of the county government and knocked on the door. After a while, Bai Shan and Zhou Man, who were wearing homely clothes, came out to see it together. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 3033. The 2 were eating. Seeing them, Zhou Man's first question was, have you eaten yet? The adults stood a little cautiously, but the 4 children standing at the front shook their heads very honestly. Because they were thin, their eyes were particularly large. A little girl raised her head and looked at Zhou with round eyes. Full, the eyes almost took up half of the face. Zhou Man reached out and took her hand, turned around and entered the door. Let's have dinner first. Bai Shan also turned sideways to let them in, and called Zhao Ming, by the way, come in and have some food. Just because the county government did not have medicated soap, Zhao Ming, who wanted to come over and ask for a few pieces of medicated soap. He didn't want to disturb the magistrate and Lord Zhou. Zhao Ming followed silently into the door. Seeing this group of people who looked dirtier than beggars, Mei was stunned for a while, and then hurriedly turned around and went to the kitchen to draw warm water to wash their faces and hands. The people in the yard were busy. Zhou Man stopped her and said, "Let the kitchen cook the rice into porridge, add a little more water, and boil it a little bit." Mei glanced at them, a little tangled. So many people, I am afraid they have to eat everyone's meals, right? What do the master and the lady eat? Let's eat porridge too, let's go, and boil it with boiling water. Hurry up. There was no boiling water, but there was hot water. He dug up everyone's rice and poured it into a large pot, and boiled it with hot water. After they washed their faces and hands, Zhou Man felt their pulse again, and the porridge was cooked. Sister, he directly poured it into the wooden bucket and brought it up. Even Zhu Saburo, who had eaten his full meal for 2 days, couldn't help swallowing when he saw this hot porridge, let alone other people. He brought the wooden barrel over, and seeing that they were all sitting in the yard, she put it under the porch, and turned around and said, "My servant, go get the bowls, chopsticks, and side dishes." "No, no, we have bowls." More than a dozen people immediately took out their own bowls from their arms and their baggage. There were wooden bowls and porcelain bowls with missing mouths. If it wasn't for the county magistrate's house, they would have scattered their food in a hurry. But because this is the county magistrate's house, they dare not. Bai Shan glanced at the bowls in their hands and felt that the warm water and medicated soap they had just washed couldn't be wasted, so he insisted, "You guys wait a bit. Then let Sister he and the others go down to get the tableware and side dishes." Fortunately, there are still quite a lot of servants in the Bai family. After a while, everyone brought various things from the kitchen and set the dining table outside. Mei gave them porridge, and seeing that they were about to drink it as soon as they got it, he hurriedly stopped him, "Be careful of burning your mouth." Zhou Man's eyelids jumped, and he quickly said, "Too hot will burn your mouth and esophagus. If you burn your esophagus, you won't be able to eat anything you want." The few people who didn't mind being scalded didn't dare to pour it into their mouths when they heard it, and could only drink it in small sips. Zhou Man breathed a sigh of relief, and after they had all played, he also took the bowl and lined up to play a bowl. Looking at Bai Shan, who also took a bowl of porridge and squatted on the steps to drink porridge like them, Zhao Ming was speechless for a long time. Magistrate Bai is too skilled, right? The bucket of porridge was just finished, and Sister he carried another bucket and put it there. The refugees saw a commotion, and then they quickened their actions to drink the porridge, and then Mei and Julan also carried a bucket up. The refugees slowed down. In order to make them drink slower, Zhou Man let them stumble over the side dishes, and Bai Shan asked them, "Where did you come from?" There was a new group of refugees in the county seat. Although the number was not large, Bai Shan had already known about it from the yeoman who patrolled the streets. However, he sent the yeoman to persuade them to register at the yeoman and stopped reluctantly. He could probably guess that they were watching. He didn't want to force people, so as not to leave a bad impression on the people who came behind. Now that people finally came, he naturally had a lot of things to ask. They said, "We came from Luzhu." Zhao Ming thought for a while, but couldn't figure out where Luzhu was. Bai Shan asked, "Why did you come out to wander?" "There is no land, and the taxes to be paid by the court cannot be paid, so they came out." Bai Shan raised his eyebrows, "Is there no land?" There were two embarrassed words, "My family still has 2 acres of land, but the land is not good and there is no harvest." It is better not to plant it? Bai Shan nodded slightly. Why did you lose ground? The reasons are not uniform, but in the final analysis they are similar. 5 years ago, Luzhu was dry. Actually, it wasn't very dry, but the luck was really bad that year, and it rained very easily. I don't know why, but there were a lot of insects on the rice ears. They were all black. The field is full of those black worms, and the husks on the rice ears are not much, but the worms bent the rice ears, and the leaves were gnawed a lot. I have tried all kinds of methods, using fire to drive, and rubbing with hands, but after a month of exhaustion, the rice husks are still empty, there is no harvest, and I have to pay taxes and live, so I have to borrow money from people to borrow food. I thought that I would be able to pay it back by tightening my belt in the past few years, but the harvest in the second year was also very mediocre. After paying the tax, the rest will be enough for the family to eat, and it is not enough at all. Master Zhao doesn't want to borrow on credit anymore. Let us repay the money immediately, there is no other way, we can only sell or mortgage the fields to him. Bai Shan was slightly solemn. The court has ordered that unless there is a mourning or illness, the Yanjai field cannot be sold. Yanjiashan cannot be bought or sold, unless there is a dead person in the family who needs to be mourned, or the patient is in urgent need of medical treatment, and can only sell it after obtaining the approved documents from the county government. After Bai Shan finished speaking, he clearly thought of the key point. If they want to sell these things, someone will naturally handle them for them. Sure enough, several people said, this is very easy, Master Zhao and the head clerk of the county government can just talk to him. You can sell as much land as you want. They all think that Master Zhao is a good person, but they are not very lucky and have encountered a disaster year. Bai Shan paused, and didn't say that Mr. Zhao was bad, but just asked, did the county government not provide relief back then? The drought was not very severe. Insect plagues are also natural disasters, right? However, Bai Shan opened his mouth and ignored the topic and asked, are you going to settle in Bihai County? Everyone hesitated, and couldn't help but look at Zhu Saburo. At this time, Zhu Sanlang was very confident in Bihai County and Bai County magistrates. Especially at this time, Bai County magistrate was still holding a bowl and squatting face to face with them to eat porridge. How can any county magistrate can do this? Therefore, he nodded fiercely, knelt directly on the ground and said, as long as the adults are willing to take us in, we will die. Bai Shan put down the bowl, helped the person up and said, it's not like this. You can also consider it for a while, and the county will also investigate you. He said, if you settle down, the county will give you enough land to live on, build houses for you, and give you tax exemptions for 2 years, but the county is not unconditional. When you hear that he has the conditions, you will feel at ease. Otherwise, why do you have such good conditions? They have been wandering abroad for 4 years, all the way from Luzhu to here, and they have long known a truth that no pie will fall from the sky. There was a power outage for a day today, and the laptop's power is about to run out, so good night, ha 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 ha. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Zhu. Chapter 3034. Bai Shan has only one condition, each of them is required to cultivate 2 mu of official land for 3 years, free of charge. The county government only provides seeds and farm tools, and the county government will have a special person responsible for checking to check whether the other party is conscientious. The official land for you to cultivate must be all in accordance with the county's instructions. As for the final output, you don't care. He said, whether it's bad or high, the county will accept all the seeds and farm implements. I will send someone to check them. As long as you do what the county instructs, after 3 years, the land allocated to you will be grown. Register the land deed and count it as your Yanjai field. Zhu Saburo couldn't help but ask, what if the adults are gone? Bai Shan, unless I die, I will be in office within 3 years, but don't worry, if I leave office or die within 3 years, someone will handle the land deed for you. This can be written in the contract. A group of people puzzled, contract. Yes, the contract between this county, or Bihai County and you, will be written down and signed by both parties. This is not only an agreement between this county and you, but also an agreement between Bihai County and you, so even if this county is not, the Bihai County magistrate has already taken care of all this for you. Of course, Bai Shan wouldn't let such a thing happen. He always felt that it was a breach of trust when the promised personal leave was handed over. The refugees were so excited that they wanted to respond on the spot, but they were worried, so they didn't speak. Bai Shan doesn't want them to give answers now, he is willing to give them time to consider. Zhou Man and Bai Shan stopped after eating only one bowl of porridge, watching them eat the remaining 2 buckets of porridge. This was the most filling time they had eaten in 4 years. Fortunately, the rice was rottenly cooked and the side dishes were bland, so there was no need to worry about eating them. Considering that they had 4 children with them, Zhou Man asked people to go to Fang Xiancan's house not far away to borrow 4 sets of clean children's clothes. There are no children's clothes in the county government house, so bring these 4 sets with you. Bar. The county government allows long-term workers to bring their children, and these children have 2 places. One is Yashantang, but they need a child to pay 5 cents, so that these children can live and study like the orphans in Yashantang. The second is to bring them with them. The food and accommodation are also provided by the county government, but their wages will be less than others, and they will only be 5 cents if they bring one more child. When they first arrived, they were worried about putting their children in Yashantang, so they took them to Guantian outside the city. The clerk at Guantian arranged them in one place, so they could take care of each other. They also got the legendary medicinal soap from the county magistrate's house, which was legendary by Zhu Saburo. After they had cleaned up, it was dark, the city gate was closed, and the guards who had not caught up with entering the city stomped their feet, looked back at the more than 30 people who were following behind, and sighed, "Let's go first. Stay outside the city for 1 night, and come back tomorrow." Among the 30-odd people, there were more women, and there were 21 people. 4 of them were staying in some villages on their way back. When they heard that they were going to work in Bihai County, they left their family affairs and came along with them. There are differences between men and women, so the team was clearly divided into 2 factions. As soon as the guard said they were sleeping outside the city, the girls found a grass and sat down, found some firewood nearby, and then huddled together. They also know that it is not safe for women to go out, so they are very united and basically do not talk to men along the way. The men sitting on the edge of the other fire had long been used to it. At first, there were a few bastards who looked at these girls slyly and flirted with words. As a result, after the guards reprimanded them, the lady even directly beat up the person with the burden and the stone. More than a dozen people beat a few people. Even if the strength of men and women is disparate, it can still be beat, not to mention the Bihai County guards who turn a blind eye to help. That's right, the men just thought the guards were helping, otherwise he would scold them for just a few words, and the ladies had already started, but he still stood by with a knife and shouted weakly, "Don't fight, don't fight. Let's fight, everyone is peaceful." So along the way, whether it is a real honest man or a fake honest man, stay far away from this group of ladies. Now everyone sleeps in the open, too. The ladies are here to make a fire, and the men are sitting far away to make a fire. The 2 guards were not reliant on each other, and they started a fire in the middle, but everyone slept at night, and the 2 kept vigil while whispering, "This time when I return to the city, I must tell Brother Daji, I would rather if you go to the yamen and run errands as a yamen, don't go far. This kind of work really isn't done by humans. Don't think about it, now that the master is short of people, it's not easy for the county government to use people for this kind of thing. Who do we need to use? Before dawn the next day, they were woken up by the business travelers and people who were about to enter the city. Because Bai Shan had hired a lot of long-term workers recently, the consumption of vegetables and other items in the city was increasing, so the price of vegetables has risen slightly recently. When the villagers heard this, they picked vegetables and sold them in the city every morning. So now there are many more people entering and leaving the city gate every day than before. When the little ladies woke up, the knowledgeable big girl secretly said, "I didn't expect that the city gate of Bihai County looked tattered, and there were so many business trips, no wonder there was so much money to recruit people from outside." As soon as the city gate opened, the two guards immediately brought them into the city without eating, and sent them directly to the county ya to register. It's just that the county yaman hadn't gone to the yaman office yet. The yaman who came to open the door saw them and couldn't help rubbing his eyes. He closed his eyes again. "Why are you knocking on the door early in the morning?" "We brought people back, who led them down to rest." The yaman reluctantly opened his eyes. "Oh, yes, you went out with Mr. Kui to recruit people." He glanced at the people behind them, and couldn't help but yawned. "Come in, and some wait, Zhao Li hasn't come back yet, everyone can find a place to do it, you're welcome." He added, "There is food outside the county office. If you are hungry, you can go out and buy it yourself. The fifth stall that sells cooking cakes is set up by my eldest brother. It tastes good. You can try it." Everyone smiled awkwardly, but didn't answer. Although they took more or less money when they went out, they didn't plan to spend it at this time. Didn't the county government cover food and shelter? They were hungry twice, and it was not too late to eat when they were assigned to work. The men thought so, and the ladies stood firmer. Most of them didn't even prepare much food, let alone money, and they've eaten everything they brought with them today. So now they don't even have a way back, they can only go forward in a desperate attempt. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 3035. Fortunately, the guards who brought them here are reliable, so after hearing the words, he said to them, "Then you can rest for a while, and I will report to your lord." One of the two guards stayed, and the other went back to the backyard. Bai Shan was surprised to hear that they had recruited more than 30 people to come back. He was even more happy when he heard that there were 21 ladies among them. Where are they? It's in Kintu County Yalai. The guard is the guard of the Bai family. Although it is not as good as Daji's relationship with the lady before the lord, he has always followed Mrs. Liu. He naturally knows that the lord of his family is not someone who looks down on women, so he said, "There are some ladies in there." She used to be the maid of a big family, even if she was illiterate, she knew a lot about female knitting workers. Bai Shan said happily, "Okay. I'm short of such people right now. Why are the clothes sold by the county government house to the long-term workers so cheap?" Of course it's because of the poor quality. The so-called price is what you get. Now the clothes that are put in the households for the long-term workers are all the work of the female workers. Of course, it is the work of the hands. They have tried their best to do their best, but there is always something like that, a little flaw, and it takes time and effort to correct that flaw. For example, the stitching is not fine enough. Another example, the sleeve on one side looks slightly smaller than the other. So Bai Shan simply put the cost price in the household for the long-term workers. The cost price is only the price of the fabric. Bai Shan lost money on needlework and labor. It can be said that every time he makes a set of clothes like this, he loses a fortune. But there is no way. Now the long-term workers he recruits need clothes, and the female workers also need to practice their skills. Obviously, he doesn't have that long to wait for them to grow slowly, so he just puts in the amount. If he does too much, he doesn't believe that they can't practice. Of course, he would be happier if there were good women workers, and he would be happier if there were literate ones who would count. For labor is easy to come by, but those who manage it are not. Fortunately, Bai Erlang and Yin or are both helping him, and the people around them can also use it. Man Bao helped him share part of it through the medical office. Even Princess Mingda, who was in a hurry, brought the palace maid to help him stare at Yashantang. Otherwise, if he spreads out such a large field at once, he will definitely not be able to take care of it. Zhou Menyi heard that among the ladies who were literate, he immediately followed and asked, "Are they ready to eat?" "No." Zhou Man turned his head and called Julan, "Take some money and go out to the booth outside to buy some cakes and send them to the front." Julan responded and went back to the house to get the money, while Bai Shan grabbed Zhou Man and said, "You should eat before you go, don't be in a hurry at this time." Zhou Man has been pregnant for a short time, but Mingda has already had a pregnancy reaction, but Zhou Man has no reaction at all, and is jumping around every day, but Bai Shan is very worried, for fear that she will react when something is wrong. There wasn't much he could do, just try not to make her hungry and thirsty. Of the 21 ladies, only 2 were truly literate, both of whom were maidservants. One used to follow a young master, and the other was a lady's eldest girl. Not only was she literate, she also managed accounts. Zhou Man was moved, and Bai Shan directly sent them to work as female workers in the weaving room under the household's house. First, they inspected for a while, and if their character and ability were good enough, they would have to take care of them. Weavers and embroiderers invited by Bai Shan from Qingzhou City came to see people, and asked them to sew some things with needles, and then made them do a few movements with spinning threads and spindles, and then 13 people were selected. The remaining 8 are the ones they picked. The remaining 8 eagerly watched the 13 of them stand aside, feeling uneasy. They won't be sent back, right? That is naturally impossible. In addition to weaving cloth and making clothes, Bai Shan also needs people who can cook and grow vegetables and fields. These are all men and women. He asked, "Which one of you cooks better?" The 8 ladies scrambled to recommend themselves, looking at each other with a bit of ferocity. Bai Shan said calmly, "There are a lot of people in the kitchen who need to cook. Besides, people who can grow vegetables, raise chickens and ducks can do all these jobs, so there is no need to rob them. To be honest, you guys, are you really good at cooking?" When the 8 people heard Bai Shan's words, their expressions improved a lot, and they quickly said, "Sir, cooking and growing vegetables is a trivial matter, who wouldn't know how to do it? I've been cooking since I was 8 years old. I have been cooking for 20 years now, and the craftsmanship is very good." The other 7 also nodded, "Yes, yes." The youngest among them was 13 years old, and she was not chosen to make clothes. Embroidery Niang said that her palms were too thick and sturdy, and she could not turn with a needle. She was a little anxious, but her voice was very low, drowned in the voices of others. But Zhou Man stood by and heard clearly, "I can carry water to water vegetables. My strength is so strong that I can carry a bucket full of water at the age of 8. Zhou Man turned to look at her and saw that she had long hands and feet. Although she was only 13 years old, she was as tall as the woman next to her, but her face was very tender. The most important thing was that Zhou Man could see her skeleton. It's very big, and the strength should not be small. She is still small now, and if she grows longer, she may be taller than the cake, bigger. Well, the cake is tall, but this." Zhou Man's eyes became brighter the more he looked, and he immediately turned his head and said to Bai Shan, "I like this, you give her to me." The crowd was shocked and turned to look at the little lady together. The little lady was a little timid and shrank back, almost shrank behind the crowd. Some people showed sarcasm on their faces, and one even said, "Madam, look at me, I'm very capable." The little lady lowered her head in frustration and shrank back again. However, one of the 13 people on the other side came forward, directly stepped forward, pulled her out and pushed her to Zhou Man, smiling, "Madam, my sister has nothing else, but she has a lot of strength, and she is honest and obedient, You point west, and she decides not to go east. After speaking, he lowered his voice and said to her, "What are you doing, thanking Mrs. soon?" She dared to run out of the house, although she was encouraged by her friends, but her courage was also a factor, so although she was timid, she raised her bright eyes to look at Joe Man, curtsied, "Mrs. yet." Seeing her such a standard salute, Joe Man guessed her origin, couldn't help but grinned, became more kind, nodded and said, "I am the order of the medical department, you can call me an adult in the future." The little lady obeyed and said immediately, "Thank you, sir." Of course Bai Shan wouldn't rob her. Although she didn't understand why she wanted a stupid girl, Si Jing, who was in her early years, was better. It could be seen that she was the backbone of this group of girls, and she was literate. Oh, she is the big girl who follows the young master to study everywhere. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 3036. Bai Shan arranged the remaining people and handed them over to the stewards of each line. As for those men, because they had no special talents, they were taken by Zhao Ming and sent to the official fields outside the city to farm. Yuan Sanlang and Yuan Chilang were among them. The brothers were very silent. When they saw that there were so many houses and people on the open ground, they became even more silent. At the same time, they became deeply worried. Can you really pay us wages with so many people? However, there was not much time for them to think. Their foreman knocked on the clapper and loudly told them to line up to pick up the things. It has to be opened, and if it is late, everyone's wages will be deducted. The brothers stopped thinking about it, and immediately went to collect the things and put them back on their bunks. Joe Man took the little lady back to the queen's office and glanced at her wooden sign, Yuqian Xiaoyang, "This name is quite unique, who gave it to you?" She whispered, "My mother took it. She said that my father chased her with a sheep." Joe Man. Where did you work in the past? Like Sister Sijing, we used to be at Master Zhu's house. Sister Sijing was sold since she was a child. I was because my mother was a servant of the world, so I was also a servant when I was born. As Sijing said, Xiaoyang is really honest. Basically, she answers what Joe Man asks, and sometimes in order to clarify things, she will lay a lot of groundwork to clarify related things. For example, Joe Man asked if she wanted to settle in Bihai County, or would she follow her from now on. Joe Mandeo, if you follow me, you can sign a living deed. Of course, if you want to sign a death deed, you can. If you want to settle in Bihai County, you have to set up a female household. But female households also have to pay taxes. Consider it. Xiaoyang thought for a moment and then said, "I'll follow the adults, as long as the adults can make me full. Don't beat me, you can scold me at will." She paused and said, "Actually, you can hit me, but you can't hit me too hard. If I hit too hard, I will run." To this end, she gave an example, "I ran out because my aunt and cousin always beat me. If adults beat me too hard, I would also run." Mei and Julian on the side. Even if he thought that a cake with a bowl all the way to the end, he couldn't help but be speechless, and then he couldn't help saying to her, "Are you stupid? You can't say it even if you think so in your heart, you have to run away and then talk about it. You tell the adults now, can you still run?" Mei and Julian, then just think about it in your heart, and remind people in private, what's the point of saying it in front of the lady now? The two are half a pound and 8 tails, and no one should talk about who. Mei quickly picked up the topic and asked, "Your uncle's family beat you? Is there any injury on your body?" "Yes," Qian Xiaoyang proudly rolled up her sleeves and showed them to them. There were blood stains on her arms, which should have been made by rattan. She said, there is still one on the back, do you want to see it? Mei frowned slightly and looked at Zhou Man. When Zhou Man saw that the patient had come to the medical office, he said to Mei and Zibing, take her to the house to have a look. After Zhou Man saw the two patients, Zibing came out to find Zhou Man indignantly, the back was punched out by a pole, lady, go and have a look. I suspect that she has suffered internal injuries. Zhou Man frowned, let the remaining patients wait, and hurried to see her. The injury on her back was blue and black. It should have been a while. Zhou Man gently pressed her and then hissed, and moved uncomfortably. It must have been painful. Zhou Man took her pulse and asked, does it usually hurt? Qian Xiaoyang said indifferently, it won't hurt if you don't think about it. She said, my brain is not smart, I can only think about one thing at a time, so every time I feel pain, I try to think about other things, and then I forget about the pain. Julan was stunned, how can there be such a person? Yes, Qian Xiaoyang said, I am. She said, my mother said it's a good thing, so that I can live a long time. It was only then that Zhou Man remembered and asked, what about your father and your mother? Why do you live with your uncle's house? My mother is dead, my father, I have never seen him, he is a barbarian. When my mother followed the master to the north, he replaced my mother with a sheep and the master, but unfortunately met a horse thief. My mother said that he wanted to protecting our mother and two died, my mother couldn't do anything, so she took me back with the master, and then she has been helping the Zhu family. Zhu's family committed a crime, the master was arrested, Lang Jun and the ladies were driven out, and we were also put in jail. Later, the new county magistrate said that the master's misdeeds have nothing to do with us low-level servants, so let us go. Let us be good people. Although Qian Xiaoyang was not smart, he remembered these reasons clearly. She said, my uncle and cousin have both divided the land, and my aunt and I are women, so we don't have land, so we can only go to the land of your uncle and cousin. She touched her arm carefully and said, they disliked me for eating too much, in fact, I don't want to eat so much, I have tried to eat as little as possible, but my aunt and cousin were still very angry, so they beat me. She sighed, Sister Saijing said that I can't stay at my uncle's house anymore, otherwise I will be beaten to death one day. If I am beaten to death, not only will my mother be disturbed, but my uncle and his family will also be killed because of the killing. I was in jail, so for them not to go to jail, I had to run away. May 3 stunned. Zhou Man praised her and said, yes, what Saijing said is right, and what you did is right. If someone beats you like this in the future, if you can beat you, fight back, but if you can't beat you, run away, otherwise you will not only suffer, but also beat you. Your people have also committed sins, and both sides have lost more than the gains. Hearing Zhou Man praising her, Qian Xiaoyang felt even more relieved, and felt more and more that he did nothing wrong. Zhou Man prescribed medicine for her, some for internal use and some for external use. There are two types of external use, one for bathing and one for ointment. She said, you don't have to do anything for the past 2 days, just pass me something, and let the ointment wipe the cake for you. This is for bathing. When I go back in the evening, I will grab a few bags for you. You let the kitchen boil it. In the future, take a bath and soak it for a quarter of an hour. This is an internal medicine, and Xiao Cao will cook it for you in a while. She turned her head to Mei and said, she can't lift weight these days, you should pay more attention. The three of Mei responded solemnly. It wasn't until the evening that Bai Shan learned about Qian Xiaoyang, and then he became more curious. You named her because you saw that she was injured? Not really. If you want to treat her injury, just say it, can you stop it? No, Zhou Man said, I think she has good roots and is very suitable for martial arts. Bai Shan, really? Can you, a person with a weak root, see a root that is suitable for martial arts? Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 3037. You underestimate me too. I don't have much skill, but I'm a doctor. If you don't believe me, ask Daji, is she suitable for martial arts? Bai Shan turned to look at Daji who was following behind. Daji, yes. Bai Shan widened his eyes, really? What kind of kung fu is suitable for her? Daji said, the rest is unknown, but she must be very suitable for hard work. After a pause, he said, if she practiced the kung fu that Master Lang learned from Master Ji Yan, she would be more suitable than Master Lang. It depends on how her understanding is. Zhou Mandao, she, is very simple. I think Lord Tianzun has always been fair. Since she has a pure mind, she must have other talents, so I bet she has a good understanding. 10 bowls of sour plum soup, bet or not? Bai Shan, do you drink half a bowl a day? Zhou Man was silent for a while, but finally he sighed and responded. She likes to drink sour plum soup very much recently. If she hadn't told herself that pregnant women should not drink more, she would have liked to drink 2 bowls a day, but she felt that 1 bowl a day was okay, but Bai Shan thought there were many ways to relieve the heat, so she was deprived of it. The pleasure of drinking sour plum soup. Bai Shan also felt that she should bet right, but still nodded, okay, let's bet 10 bowls of sour plum soup. But this is not something that can be known immediately. To test her savvy in martial arts, at least wait for her injury to heal. The two walked side by side to a door, and Daji knocked on the door. The concierge opened the door and saw that it was them, and immediately opened the 2 doors, bowed and smiled, Master Zhou, the magistrate of Bai, the princess and the concubine have arrived, and they are all in the backyard now. Bai Shan nodded and took Zhou Man's hand in. This is the house that Yin Or just bought. He probably disliked the noise of the county government office, so he simply bought a yard and moved out. Now Bai Erlang is discussing with him whether to open a door on the wall of the 2 houses. It's easier to get in and out this way. You live alone, if you don't want to cook, you can come to my house to eat. Yin Or very indifferent, the cook is cooking, I don't bother. Can't you waste it if you can't finish it? Bai Erlang strongly persuaded. And there are servants, it won't be wasted. Yin Or moved out of the backyard of the county government office because he was too noisy, so how could he open the door on the wall? If it weren't for the fact that there were very few houses in Bihai County and it was difficult to buy them, he would actually prefer to live opposite Bai Erlang rather than live against the wall. What is the difference between opening another door and living in the same mansion? Seeing Zhou Man and Bai Shan arriving, Yin Or immediately changed the subject. I heard that you accepted more than 30 people today. Yes, Bai Shan said with a smile, it has already been arranged. Mingda actually didn't understand, you have recruited quite a few people recently, how many more people do you need to recruit? Now there are nearly 200 people on the official fields outside the city. If such a posture is not in a peaceful and prosperous world, and the person in charge is Bai Shan, she almost thinks that he has something wrong. Bai Shandao, I'll charge as much as you come, but I've estimated it myself. Apart from the uncontrollable number of refugees who have heard the news, the number of people who come from other counties should not exceed 500. Not only Princess Mingda, but even Bai Erlang couldn't help being more serious. He looked at Mingda, then at Bai Shan, and asked instead of her, if you count the refugees and people from this county, isn't it possible that there are thousands of people? Right. Bai Erlang blinked, don't you think about cultivating all the official fields of the county government? Bai Shandao, that's the plan, but these 1,000 people may not be able to plant all of them, so I said that I will not refuse anyone who comes. Don't the local people have any opinions? Even Bai Erlang knew, those officials should have been allocated to them. Bai Shandao, I didn't say that I would not give them a share. It's just that they don't have a fraction of the land yet, and I don't want the land to be abandoned, so I asked people to cultivate it first. But Bai Erlang vaguely felt that something was not right. Yin or put down the teacup and asked, but these long-term workers have been working here for a long time. In the future, the official land they will farm will be distributed to Chengding. Where should they go? Bai Shandao, so I still need a part of the servants every year to raise the land in the open field, and raise the raw land to mature. Yin he suddenly realized, and then he couldn't help laughing, you've been calculating long enough, so I don't know if the next county magistrate will be able to persist like you do. If we can continue Bai Shan's policy, then we are naturally not afraid that the newborn will have no land to divide. Zhou Mandao, the people who come to defect now, either have reached a dead end, or are about to run out of water, we always have to take care of them. At present, there are not many people who have the courage to leave their hometowns, and even fewer people who have nothing to leave their hometowns. Those who can find long-term jobs in Bihai County, most of them have no other way to survive. Ding, just ignore these people, right? Bai Shandao, although everything I am doing now is for Bihai County, and it seems that I am competing for profits with other states and counties, but in the end it is every citizen who comes here, and they are all from Dajin. Children. Even when Bihai County is stabilized, the surrounding prefectures and counties will benefit from Bihai County, he said. I have always recognized my position. I am the county magistrate of Bihai County, but also an official of Dajin, so the princess can rest assured. Mingda smiled and said, I am naturally relieved of your loyalty. She was just afraid that he was too young, because he was so happy with his achievements, and the spread was too wide. If he couldn't control it and collapsed, it would be the people under his control who would suffer. Zhou Man, however, was very confident in Bai Shan, and said to her, he's not doing this alone, aren't you helping? She said, you, Yin or Bai Er, who doesn't have the talent to hold the country. I don't believe that so many of us can't manage a county well. Minda, me. Yes, Zhou Man said, as a matter of course, you helped us read the ledger last time. Mingda, isn't she helping Bai Er? Oh, yes, Bai Er is Bai Shan of Gang. Looking at the smiling Zhou Man and Bai Shan, Mingda just remembered that they seemed to be interfering in a lot of things unknowingly. Mingda wanted to help her for it. Bai Shan encouraged them, when the Jiangnan salt field is stable, I will definitely ask for your credit in front of your majesty. The emperor's daughter and son-in-law, thank you. Yin or, who doesn't want fame and doesn't make an official career. Zhou Man felt hungry, so he resisted to touch his stomach, but looked around and asked, what shall we eat at night? Yin or returned to her senses, and said to her, I know that you have been disgusted with heat recently, and today someone brought some wild vegetables to see me, and I had them mixed with cold vegetables, sour and crunchy, you can taste it or have an appetizer. Zhou Man immediately nodded again and again. See you tomorrow.